Hey everyone, it's Denise Brown from the Caregiving Years Training Academy. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are here for a time for healing. Thanks to those who've joined us live and thanks to those who are watching our recording. Three of us are going to go through short presentations to help you connect to healing. And the goal of this event is for you to find individual healing and then collective healing through our support. And we're going to start with Kathy. And as each presenter starts to talk, I'll ask them to do a little bit of an intro about their work. So Kathy's going to start us off. So Kathy, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Denise. Thanks for presenting this, and thanks to everyone else for joining us. I'm Kathy Murri. I'm a certified caregiving consultant and facilitator, and I'm also a certified grief support specialist. And I basically came to this work through helping a friend who had ALS and who has since passed away, who has basically propelled me onto the path to caregiving support and grief work. And what I'm going to talk about today is a framework for doing while you're grieving. I think when we're grieving, we tend to be in our heads a lot. We tend to be isolated a lot. We tend to do a lot of thinking and feeling. But sometimes we just don't know what to do. And so what I'm going to offer is a simple framework for doing something while you're grieving. I know there are days, I've had those days recently. I will share that my friend's anniversary of his passing was this month. So I've had those days recently where, all you want to do is cry, or all you want to do is be angry or whatever. But I found this really helpful, even for me, to go through it and go, are you doing these things? So there's 3 simple steps I'm going to share with you. I'm calling it a new tradition, 3 simple steps. And basically, the steps are doing something for you, doing something for someone else, and doing something for the person that you lost, whom you're grieving. I start with doing something for you because it's sort of like, in the airplane where they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first. You need to take care of yourself first. And as we know, especially if you're a former caregiver, as you know, you often tend to put yourself last. So it's really important to just make that time for you. So the doing something for you can be a number of things. It can be something like setting time to soak in the tub, setting a timer and reading for 30 minutes, watching a special TV show or Netflix show, taking a walk, because nature is always very healing, calling a friend, creating something if you're the type of person who likes to knit, crochet, paint, whatever, do collages, any kind of creating, writing, maybe journaling, having a special dessert, which I completely I endorse, or doing something new to you. Now, when I was developing this list, I thought a lot about the big things, and you'll see the big things on this list, the active things, the, reading, taking a walk, calling a friend, etc. But then I realized a lot of those things are things that you may have experienced with the person you've lost, and that might not be the kind of escape that you need right now, the kind of like setting aside of that and making time for you. And so the doing something new to you is something that I'll talk about a little later at the end and tell you what I did this month that was new to me that I found really helpful. But it was something I will say that we had never done together, and that was very helpful for me. The second thing is doing something for someone else. So this is reaching out to someone. It could be someone who's grieving with you. It could be someone who's not even in your circle of grief, not even in your immediate circle. Just the action of doing something for someone else can be healing. So that could be writing a letter or a card, sending a Facebook message, delivering a treat, calling or visiting online, giving someone a hug if it's safe for you to hug that person, being someone's holiday support partner if you both are grieving and you need somebody to just be there for each other, volunteering to help others, or giving an anonymous gift. Also, the random acts of kindness. Again, some of these things are things that when you do them require that you interact with another person. You may not be in that space where you want to interact with another person. You may be, and maybe what you need is to call someone and have a conversation. But you may just want to do something anonymous, like buying a cup of coffee for the next person in the drive-through line at Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, or sending someone a package from Amazon from Santa, or something that just lets you feel that you're doing something for somebody else, but maybe doesn't require interaction. And the third thing that I recommend is doing something for the person that you're grieving. Visiting the cemetery or another special place, installing a seasonal flower arrangement, looking at photo albums and reminiscing with other people, live or via Zoom, donating money or time in their honor, making one of their favorite recipes, either for someone else or for yourself, setting a place at the table. A lot of people like to set a place at the table for the person who's not there, writing them a letter, or creating an altar or other memorial for them. This was something Emily talked about in an earlier presentation in November, that's something that can be very useful. So I will tell you that I use these 3 steps many days. I use them on days when I'm not in a good place about grieving. Try to use them on the anniversaries, the special anniversaries, the anniversary of the death, birthday anniversaries, anniversaries of special days, and around the holidays when we have a lot of triggers that really can remind us of that person. And my story that I will tell you is that basically around the anniversary of my friend's death, I was having a very hard time. I was spending days crying, and I was spending days very, very angry. I'd mentioned in an earlier presentation that anger is a new thing for me. I hadn't felt that before, but I'm feeling a lot of anger right now, usually at other people, but unfortunately for them. So sometimes it's better if I just stay isolated. And I found that on those days I was going through the checklist in my head over and over. Did I do something for me? Did I do something for someone else? Did I do something for him? And that was really important for me to stick to that and to get out of my thinking and feeling head and get into the doing place, which brought me out of that space just for a while, just enough time to sort of give me a new perspective. And so I'll share with you a couple of things I discovered. One is in the doing something for me, I registered for an online art class, which was a very simple class. It was just cutting shapes, arranging them in a pattern to make a design, something I'd never done before. It was an hour where I didn't think about anything but that. And it was a true gift. And I realized that one of the things was that it wasn't one of those things we had shared. It was new territory for me. And it was fairly non-threatening, and it was really a lovely thing. I found it really rejuvenating. In the doing something for someone else, I realized I could clean off my neighbor's car after the snowfall. I could send an anonymous package to some people who still haven't found out who Santa Claus is. I can buy that cup of coffee. I can put a candy bar on someone's desk. I can do any number of low-key things that don't take a lot of effort, but they're still doing something and thinking about someone else. And the doing something for him, traditionally at this year, I would go to the cemetery. Going to the cemetery is not really an option right now because it involves traveling, and that's complicated right now, as we know. So as I mentioned, Emily had talked about creating altars in an earlier presentation. And as I looked around my office, I realized that I had photos of him up in my office and that I sort of had a half altar. And so one of the things I did that was really easy was that I looked around my office and I realized I had a pile of river rocks that someone had given me that I thought maybe someday I'll take them to the cemetery and put them on the gravestone. I had a statue that reminded me of him. I basically organized all of those things around the altar. So now it feels like it's an altar, and it feels like all the things related to him are there. Again, very easy, didn't require a lot of doing. So whatever you take away from this, I hope that you'll think about what things work for you in doing these three things for yourself, for someone else, and for the person you grieve, and find your own things that work for you. And I hope that you find this helpful.
So before I move to my presentation, Kathy, I wonder if you can just type those 3 statements in the chat room so people can reference those as we continue. Once we get through Emily's presentation, we'll open it up for comments and questions that you guys might have, but you're welcome to post anything that you're thinking in the chat room right now. I used to do a random act of kindness challenge on an online community that I used to own, and we would do it for 30 days. And one of the participants used to do this on a regular basis, which is when she was at the grocery store, she would corral the carts so that whoever worked there wouldn't have to run all over the parking lot and find all the carts. And I always thought that was such a great idea as someone who used to work for a retail store who had to go out and corral the carts. Maybe that's why that speaks to me so much. But I love this idea that we can look at our day in really simple ways of making it better for someone else, which then makes it better for ourselves. And when I share the link to this video, I'll also share the link to our Healing Before the Holidays event that we did in November. And I'll also invite you, if you'd like to join us in January for Healing After the Holidays, where we'll connect and share about how we're doing and how our holidays were. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about a process that I've been thinking about for a while in terms of how do we heal? I started working with individuals who care for a family member 30 years ago. So during a caregiving experience, there's a lot of grieving. You're grieving losses throughout the experience, and then there's the loss at the end of the experience with death. But there's also a lot of other losses that happen after someone dies. You could lose relationships. Certainly you lose structure to your day. You might feel like you've lost a little bit of your vision for the future. So this process, which is 3 steps, we're healing through, we're healing with, we're healing to, can speak to a big loss that you're experiencing as well as secondary losses, or what you might think about as second losses, smaller losses. So when you think about what you're healing through, it could be a loss, but it also could be something that's disappointed you, maybe relationships in your life. It could be about a change. Maybe the changes in this holiday season really are just feeling like, oh my gosh, I just miss what we used to do. Maybe this has really been a difficult year. Perhaps you've had the loss of a family member and then additional losses. Maybe you've lost a job. You could be burnt out and just stressed because of all the difficulties we're navigating now. Feels like we're all experiencing a little bit of compassion fatigue around bad news because it seems like there's bad news wherever we look. And then certainly we could have worries. We're not sure how to work through the worries. I also think that with an ending, like the end of the year, even though we're grateful for this year to be over, but there's still that ending. And whenever there's an ending, there's grief around that. And I put weight gain in there because it feels like when there's a tough time in my life, my weight goes up and I feel like I am grieving what my body used to look like. And when we are burnt out and stressed, our body reacts, and sometimes it reacts with weight gain. So you're healing through a loss. And for you today, what's the loss that really feels like it's weighing on you? If you have a pen and paper, just write, what are you healing through today? I like to remind us that we don't have to heal through a loss on our own. We can heal with strategies and tools and support. So we can heal through a loss with movement, like a walk or exercise. We can heal with words, talking out how we're feeling or writing out how we're feeling. We can heal with connections and music and prayer and solitude. Essential oils have been helpful for me, and I think of them as brewing, but that's not the right term. They are diffusing. So I set some essential oils to diffuse during our time together. For me, what's healing about using essential oils is that it's a really simple action. So rather than sitting and thinking, what am I going to do? I get up, I open up a bottle, and I put it in my diffuser. And just those simple steps make me feel like I'm doing something. I'm taking care of whatever it is that feels difficult for me. We can also heal with boundaries. Kathy alluded to some boundaries around her anger, that sometimes solitude feels better for her because the anger just feels like it takes over. Maybe there's boundaries around your day, when it starts, when it ends, thinking about getting more sleep if you can, because that helps the healing. And then healing through rituals. And Emily's going to help us with some of those. And then it could be that you make adjustments. So what it was worked then, and now you're going to adjust to figure out what is it that works now. So for you, think about what you're healing through a loss with. And then we think about, where are we going with this healing? We can actually have a focus, in some regard, a destination. We're going to heal to a different way that we feel. And it could be that we want to heal to peace, a feeling of comfort that could come through memories and reminiscing. Perhaps we're going to heal through to get to forgiveness, forgiveness of ourselves, forgiveness of others. Sometimes it feels like we have to forgive our life, forgiving us something that feels unfair and that we didn't deserve. We can heal to new ways, and certainly this holiday season is challenging us to figure out what's a new way. Sometimes just giving ourselves permission to do a day in a new way can open us up to healing. And maybe it's letting go a perspective that you had about the loss and how it happened and why it happened. Maybe a new perspective will help you let go. And I think it's just awesome if we can think about heading to love of ourselves, love of others, love of life. So for you, where's your destination? Okay, we're going to do a pretty simple visualization. So I'd love for you to get comfortable where you are. If you're sitting, make sure your feet are firmly planted on the floor and that your hands are up with your palms open and they're resting lightly on your legs. You're going to close your eyes and focus in on the breathing. And if you're in a room with others and you're worried about noises, it's okay. Just let those noises really just pass by your awareness. You're really focusing on my voice. So you've got your eyes closed and you're breathing in and out. And for this particular visualization, you're thinking about what you're healing through, what's your loss. And I'm going to tell you that you're healing with our support. And then you're going to pick where you want to get to with our support. Okay, so focus on your breathing in and out, and you're listening to my voice, and you're just letting any noises float past your awareness. You're climbing a mountain. It's a mountain that you haven't climbed before. You feel like you're alone, but then you look around, and all of us are with you. Some of us are ahead of you, paving the way. Some of us are next to you, walking right beside you. Some of us are behind you to catch you if you stumble. We're all walking up this mountain, and we all share the same purpose to help you get to your destination, the top of the mountain, so you can accept that feeling. You're taking step by step and you're feeling our support. You just think, oh my gosh, wow, all these people care about me so much that they are here climbing this mountain with me. So we get to the same destination, my destination. You can see the top of the mountain, which each step you get closer and you're starting to feel, oh my gosh, stronger and stronger because you have our support in front of you and next to you and behind you. You take a few more steps and you're at the top of the mountain and you receive that feeling that you put as your destination. You are receiving that feeling with open arms. And at the same time you receive our full support, we want you to receive that kind of healing, that you feel this way. I want you to take a moment and breathe in our support and breathe in that feeling. You worked your way through to receive this emotion that is comforting and loving and peaceful and forgiveness of you and others in your life. Receive this emotion. You have reached the top of the mountain with our support because we want you to feel better. And you are receiving this emotion that helps you feel better. Breathe in our support. Breathe in that emotion that makes you feel better. Look to see what you can from the top of the mountain. See others on other mountains supporting you and cheering you. See others who are climbing their own mountain. See how they see you and are inspired by your climb. You deserve to feel better. Okay, spend a few more seconds at the top of the mountain. And then we're going to head down step by step. We're still with you. You're walking down the mountain, but you're bringing with you that healing feeling. Step by step, you still see some of us ahead of you. Some of us are next to you, and some of us are behind you. And you're carrying that healing feeling with you. And when you reach the bottom of the mountain, you look up and you say, wow, look what I did. Look what's possible. You give thanks to those who joined us, to those who joined you on this climb, and you keep that healing emotion. Okay, I'm going to count to 5, and when I reach 5, you're going to open your eyes and you're going to feel refreshed and alive. 1, 2, 3. When I reach 5, you're going to open your eyes and feel refreshed and alive. 4 and 5. You can open your eyes, give yourself a moment or two to get acclimated. And as you give yourself just a few seconds to get acclimated, I'm going to stop sharing this presentation and then allow Emily to get situated for hers.
Thank you so much, Denise. I feel so relaxed and calm after that. Are you able to see the full screen?
Yes, you're a little quiet though. Your voice
Okay.
volume is
I'll try to speak up a little bit and get a little bit closer to the mic.
That is perfect.
And then let me just make sure, does the slide change when I switched it?
It sure does.
Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Borg, and I am the founder of Emerald Wellness Center, and I work to support family caregivers with holistic health and well-being. And I am currently a family caregiver for my partner, Manny, who has a spinal cord injury, and have been for about 3 years. So thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to be part of this presentation with Denise and Kathy. And I am excited to talk a little bit about honoring the winter solstice and the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter that are happening today. So it's a powerful time astrologically. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. And then I'll lead us through a healing grief release ritual. And as Denise mentioned, if you do have the materials, a small bowl of water and some salt and a candle, you're welcome to go along with us now, but if not, it's totally okay. And I'll be doing the ritual here for all of us with the salt and the candle and the water that I have. And you can learn the process and then try it later at home yourself. So no pressure if you don't have the supplies with you. So I'm going to just share a couple of key facts about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction and the winter solstice. And this is all from Chani Nicholas. She's an astrologer who I follow very closely. I know there's a bunch of astrologers out there, and so I follow her, and I learn a lot from her. She also has a book called "You Were Born for This," and so if you want to learn more about this, please check out her website and book. But she teaches us that it's the closest observable Jupiter and Saturn conjunction since medieval times, and there will not be another visually like it until 2080. And so people are calling it the Christmas star because it's so close to Christmas, and because the two planets will be aligned in such a way that tonight, if we look to the southwest direction, hopefully we'll be able to see a very, very, very bright star in the sky that looks like one big bright star because of the way that the planets are going to be aligned visually. And this conjunction is happening in the air element and the air sign of Aquarius for the first time in 200 years. And so Chani Nicholas says that this initiates us into a new 200-year era of this air sign, and that it's one of the most important astrological reboots that we'll ever live through. And so she also teaches us that it's a time of fresh start, a day to set intentions that will hopefully grow alongside the returning light and warmth of the sun. The great conjunction feels like a blessing in a year devoid of them. And this is the perfect time to set out on a new venture that you wish to be in long term. Mark the moment with an important declaration or set in stone your mission statement. And so I just wanted to call our attention to this and that this is happening. And if you feel like you need kind of a reset, it's been a rough year, today is a day where you can really set those intentions, and it can be just, closing your eyes and really thinking about those intentions and what you want to bring about in your life this year and for the future, and to call in that light and the warmth of the sun that is returning after tonight, the longest night. And so now we're going to go through a grief release ritual. And this is something that I learned from a woman named Starhawk, who is a longtime author. She's written many spiritual books and novels, and an activist and a spiritual teacher. And so this is something that I learned from her. And I have a small bowl of water here next to me, and then a small bowl of salt. And what we're going to do is we'll go around, and everyone is invited to share anything or anyone that you're grieving or that you want to honor. It can be a loss, it can be a person, it can be an activity that you're no longer able to do. It can be a collective prayer because we're experiencing a very heavy and intense collective grief right now, as well as all of the individual things that we each are going through in our own lives. And so you're welcome to unmute yourself and to speak whatever it is that you want to honor and release and grieve out loud, or you're welcome to put it into the chat if you feel more comfortable. And for each thing that is shared, I'm going to add a pinch of salt to this bowl of water. And then when we're done, I'm going to light the candle. I use a floating candle, as you can see in the picture. And I'm going to light this floating candle in the bowl of water, and I'll let it burn out about 4 or 5 hours. And then tonight, for the winter solstice and the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, I will pour the salt and the water out in the dirt on Mother Earth, under a pyramid that I have outside and an outdoor altar, to honor all of our individual and collective grief and mourning and loss, and also our love and our hope and our healing, so that we are able to call on Mother Earth to support us through this, and that we're also offering our support and love and gratitude to Mother Earth as well. And actually, before we get started, I wanted to read this one more quote briefly, and this is from a dear friend and mentor and sister of mine named Rosa, who I want to honor. She is getting married today to her partner, Daniel. And this is a really beautiful quote that she said that I think is fitting in this moment and really moving. She said, "We have to remind ourselves, our community, that our hearts hold more than heartache and heartbreak, that inside us we have a chalice filled with divine love. That chalice is our heart. As we hold divine love, we hold each other up. We hold up the whole sky." So sending love and blessings to their wedding today, and just want to remind us all that despite the heartache and heartbreak, that there's also love and hope, and that we can continue to find that amongst these hard times. So if anyone would like to start off, I invite you to unmute yourself and share something that you are grieving or would like to honor, or to put it in the chat.
This is one I want to write it on the chat. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you.
Yes, I was taking, I'm not that good on the computer. I want to honor my amazing husband, son, father, grandfather, friend, guidance counselor that so many of ex-students now, it was overwhelming, the outpouring of love when he passed away on May 10th due to the coronavirus. And my granddaughter, our granddaughter, we waited for 12 years, was born April 28th. So she was 12 days old when his grandfather, my husband, the love of my life, left us. And an amazing father to my daughter, Elena, and my son, Tonino.
Thank you so much. And I'm adding salt
Thank you.
to our collective prayers for the love of your life and all that you meant to your family.
Emily, could I ask you a favor? For this one, can you exit from the screen share, and we'll just have you. We'll have you as the full screen, if that's okay.
Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. I couldn't see the chat, so that makes it better now. Okay, and Regina said, "My darling husband came in. He was music." A pinch of salt.
And Emily, can you show us what the water bowl looks like?
So
Okay.
it's a little dish here of water with a floating candle on top, and then this is the little bowl, a little dish of salt. Anyone else like to offer anything that you're grieving, or anyone you would like to honor?
Hi, I was trying to take it off mute. I want to bring Ray Richmond into the space. It's our grandfather and father and husband. I'm with my grandmother and my mom here in Louisiana, and so we are wanting to bring him into this space and just remembering him and honoring him. He was a wonderful bluegrass player and just a wonderful, strong and wise man who taught me so many wonderful things, taught us all so many wonderful things. And he's very missed every year, every day.
Thank you so much. And adding a pinch of salt for your grandfather and father and husband whose love of bluegrass music. Thank you for sharing.
And Emma has shared in the chat room.
Thank you, Emma. And we'll add salt for both of your grandfathers. Honor their memory. I'll add a pinch of salt for my Uncle Nick, who passed away in 2018. And a pinch of salt for my friend Rosa's father, who passed away last year and is not able to be there for her wedding today, and her grief for that. There's my dog barking in the background. Now for a collective prayer for all of the healthcare workers, the doctors and nurses and janitorial staff in the hospitals and the assistants and everyone working all year in the pandemic who is exhausted and burnt out and who keep going because they say there's nothing else that they can do. And so we offer our prayers and gratitude and love for all of the healthcare workers. We'll also add a pinch of salt for everyone who's lost their home this year or lost their job. For all of the essential workers who have lost a sense of safety and protection but continue to show up every day so that all of us are able to get food and supplies and medicine. We'll add salt for all of the people who have died from COVID this year around the world, and for all of their family members, the exponential numbers of family members and loved ones that are grieving the losses of our loved ones this year from COVID and from anything else. And for the teachers and grocery store workers and firefighters, for the garbage collectors, for the childcare workers, and for the children who are growing up in an era of a pandemic and are unable to experience their childhood as they normally would have, and who are also grieving. And if anyone else would still like to add, you're more than welcome to in the chat or out loud.
Could I add one more collective prayer? That is for those who keep, actually two. So those who are delivering the vaccines, and those who are driving the trucks. And I would also say the scientists who work tirelessly to develop the vaccine. And anyone who drives a bus or an Uber or a subway or a train, puts us, especially the essential workers, where they need to go. They show up for work every day as well.
Yes, and that reminds me of the EMTs also. They were on the list.
Yes.
EMTs and
Can I add something since
yes,
you're
please.
talking about, yeah, are the amazing Dr. Potenza, husband and wife, Dr. Robert Potenza and Dominica Potenza, that they were amazing, both of them, because my husband Tony was in the hospital and they already was saying he's 82-year-old. I know they were giving up and they insisted. But anyway, the day that my husband left us, it was a Mother's Day, and Dr. Dominica Potenza came with her daughter 40 minutes away from here and met us in the hospital um, while they were giving my husband CPR, and that was amazing. Not only that, but when we were in the room, and the doctor came and said, "I'm sorry, he didn't make it," or whatever. And then someone had to go and ID the body, and my daughter, me, and my sister, we just couldn't do it. So the doctor said, "Would you like me to go?" And she went, and my son was quarantined because the baby was 12 days old, so my son was not able to be there. So she was in touch with my son, and I don't know, did video, whatever, and gave him the news. And then my daughter that she lives with us, she said, "I can go home and find the wheelchair and all the stuff," because he was released. We took care of him 5 days from the hospital, and Dr. Dominica Potenza and her daughter came and helped us to remove the stuff from the house and put it in the garage. And I don't know how to thank her. And the husband that is the cardiologist, and both of them. And I even text her, I send her a note, I would like to do something for a hospital, under her name, but she never, they very, how do you say, they very generous with their, I don't know how to say it, they very simple, you know, they
Yes.
very, they
Humble.
don't rush you, I don't want to take too much time, but I'm glad I was able to, you know, I was able to make honor to them, both of them, and that's all. Thank you. And my amazing daughter that has been taking care of me, and my son that they also did all the arrangement for the funeral and all that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. We will honor your daughter and your son for all their help, and the doctor and doctor's family
Yes.
for all their help. Having supportive, compassionate doctors and nurses that go out of their way really are
Yes.
life-changing, can make life-changing differences in people's lives. So we'll also honor all of the doctors and nurses and that go above and beyond to support families. Thank you for sharing. Would anyone else like to share or honor anyone or anything else?
I'd like to add all the people who are stepping up to care for other people at this
Yeah.
time to be caregivers. And also just all the people who are alone because they can't be together with their loved ones right now.
Yeah, and especially the essential caregivers that are really needed in the hospitals and that are often being blocked from being able to be in. And I can only imagine how stressful and hard that is. It's a fear of mine. So I'll also release that fear as well and honor all of those who are in that situation right now, because I can only imagine how difficult that is. Any final sharing from anyone? Okay, well, I'll just offer one more pinch of salt for all of the changes that we've all endured this year, for the loss of our old lives and the way the world used to be, and honor all that we pray for and hope for moving forward in the new year. Thank you, Regina. Regina said in the chat, everyone everywhere has lost normalcy. I'd like to extend a warm heart to all the people who became grandparents but cannot be with those little miracles. I honor them. Yes, that's a beautiful, beautiful reminder. All of the grandparents who aren't able to meet their grandchildren, and all of the family members that aren't able to be there to celebrate the birth of the new babies and the new lives that are coming in to this world right now. And Emma said, and those who couldn't say goodbye to loved ones. Yes, that is so, so hard. Honor all of that loss and grief and frustration and sadness of not being able to be there and be present. And also trusting that they could feel the love of their loved ones from afar. These are beautiful. Thank you. And if anyone else is having one last message, you're welcome to. And if not, we will transition to any questions that you have for Denise or Kathy or myself. And after the questions, I will close out with a brief closing statement.
And it's okay if you don't have any questions or comments, but we wanted to offer you that opportunity. It's so powerful to be able to connect with each of you around your loss so that you know that you're not alone with your loss.
And so I've lit this floating candle. You can see here, so I'm going to keep that going until it burns out, probably in 4 or 5 hours. And then, as I said, I will say a prayer and pour the water and salt into the earth tonight on my outdoor altar. But for the closing, I'm going to read a chalice extinguishing closing statement. So with this other candle that I have lit, I'm going to go ahead and extinguish this to close out our healing ritual today. But I will leave that one burning.
Would you like us to light our candles as well?
Yes, if you have a candle and if it's not lit, please, you can light that now. And you're welcome to keep yours lit as well if you would like, in kind of a collective prayer from afar. But also if you need to extinguish it, that's okay too. And so these are the closing words of a UU minister named Elizabeth Barrett. So we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace, go in love, and remember, we are never, ever alone. Blessed be. Thank you all so much for being here. And we hope to see you in January for our next event together.
Could you repeat that, Emily?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace, go in love, and remember, we are never, ever alone. Blessed be. And I'll put it in the chat too, if anyone wants.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Thank you all so much for being here today. We're grateful you could spend time with us, and we hope that this helped you with some strategies you can use on your own, like Kathy's three-step process, my visualization that you can use anytime. You can close your eyes anytime, and we'll climb that mountain with you. And then this idea from Emily of using salt to really honor the loss, pinching it into water, and then releasing that water at some point after you've gone through all that you're missing. And then you certainly can light a candle in memory at any time. I'll include with a link to the video archive the different prayers that Emily said for us today as well. So most important, we hope that you know that you are connected to healing spirit, and that is the spirit of all of us. Thank you all so much for coming today. Yeah, thank you, Regina. That's the goal, right? To diffuse the pain. Thanks, Kathy and Emily. Always great to connect and share with you.
You too, Denise. Thank you for this, pulling us together. This was wonderful.